I would say a good year for a voice actor is not just getting booked, but also being remembered, putting out solid work, building those connections, not stressing about the things that you wish you could have done differently last year. Just move forward.
You're listening to the Voiceover Casting Corner podcast. VCC is brought to you by the Voicecaster, the country's first and oldest voiceover casting house established in 1975. The Voicecaster casts thousands of voices every year across all genres, and we're excited to give you an inside look at the casting process direct from our casting team.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Voiceover Casting Corner. It is 2026 and we're back.
Say Happy New Year.
My name is Kelly Mushinsky. I am the owner and head of casting here at the Voicecaster.
And I'm Kathryn Horan. I'm the senior casting director here at the Voicecaster.
We are excited to be back for a new year. Sometimes the new year, it is one of those things where everybody's like, all of a sudden, January 1st, it's like this magical reset. And sometimes that can be refreshing for people, and sometimes that can feel overwhelming. So we're going to talk a little bit today just about what's changing and what's not changing, because that's really the biggest thing, right, Kathryn? It's like, just because it's January 1st doesn't mean a reset button. It's going to be different and better. Yeah, there's new possibilities. I like to think of it as new year, new possibilities, you know. And yeah,
there may be things that change, but I feel like it's still early. We've still got some time to see where things go, where the ebb and flow of the water takes us, if you will.
And it always changes. February 1st, everything could totally shift again. And, you know, it's like, who knows when all of that kind of stuff is going to happen. And, you know, especially in an industry like voiceover, it's always changing. It's funny because it's always changing, but then at the same time, if you look at some of the specs and stuff and you see conversational, then it feels like it's never changing. And it's just always the same thing.
Exactly. The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Exactly. So it's one of those things where a lot of people are like, what are the trends for 2026? You know, what are your predictions? And it's like,
for a weekend, I don't know where I am.
This is like
getting out of vacation mode. I don't know.
Yeah. So it's really one of those things where it's like, I mean, we did hit the ground running first day back, you know, several projects and things like that. So that's fantastic. You know, things are happening for sure. Yep. Everybody's
got their money for the new year, so people are casting for sure.
Yep, exactly. And I feel like, you know, in terms of trends, or, you know, what we're already seeing is, I think the biggest thing has been just a broader range. I feel like fewer projects are specifying gender, fewer projects are specifying age, or they're giving a much broader 40 to 50 year age range.
The few projects that we've seen this week, it's been very much that. Yeah, like 35 to 65. I'm like, all right.
Exactly. I feel like it's not even so much about a trend being a specific read that they're going to be looking for, or a certain style or anything like that. It's going to be more in terms of versatility. You know, they want people who can do a lot of different things. There are a lot of people collaborating on all of this. And so it's, you know, finding that appeal and, you know, finding an actor they can work with, that they can direct, and, you know. So I think that's probably the biggest thing, you know, not being too far into the new year yet. That's the biggest thing that I'm seeing. But, you know, again, that can change next week. It can change the week after. So
look at a slew of 20-something projects, or a slew of older men. You know, you never know. That's for sure.
So what has not changed? Let's talk about things that have not changed on the casting side. Pretty much everything.
So nothing drastic has changed in terms of just how things work, or, you know, make sure you follow directions. I think we'll say that another 5,000 times this year. You know, definitely make sure your takes sound different. Make sure you're being true to yourself. All that good stuff too.
it's about that connection still. It's like there's still AI is still out there, and AI is not human. It's that human connection, and that's what we're going to be listening for. We're going to be listening for the personality, the specific choices, the intention. It's like we're not listening for the perfect final take. We are listening for something that brings you to the read and is genuine.
Exactly. So yeah, you'll hear us say authenticity. Again, probably 5,000 times this year.
Connection, intention,
Yeah,
authenticity.
all
It's
the
all always the same, and there's a reason for that.
exactly.
So, yeah. So just in terms of some of that, as far as, the authenticity and bringing that to your reads, or hopefully, new year, and you're like, oh, I really could have been more me in my auditions last year. Great. Translate that into this year, and I think a lot of it starts before you even get into the booth, before you even do the first read of the script. It's like your energy shows up right that very first second, the very first word. I always tell people that I can hear if you're on your 10th audition and you're over it. I can hear when you're not interested in the script. I can hear when you don't know what you're talking about. I can hear when you've lost your confidence. It's like that kind of stuff comes through. So getting yourself in the right frame of mind even before you record. And usually that confidence and stuff comes when you've made your choices. That confidence doesn't have to come from bookings and things like that. There are plenty of people who book and work all the time and still don't have confidence on every single audition. So I think that's a huge part of it, is the prep is what's going to give you the confidence.
And I remember just so many actors. I hear stories about, oh, it's the audition they don't think they're going to get. They're just like, there's no way I'm going to get this. I'm just going to do something.
Yep.
And that's what books it. And it's because they're not overthinking it. They're not getting in their head. They're like, what have I got to lose? They don't have everything hung up on it. They're just like, I'm just going to make a choice and commit to it and go.
Yep.
And it's
And it's
amazing how freeing that can be.
Yeah, and it's the jobs that people really want, the campaign, the new voice of this, that. You're not going to get those as soon as you go into an audition thinking, this one's huge, I need this one.
Whenever I hear actors go, I really want to book this one, I'm like, well,
not going to happen now.
You can't get so hung up on it and put all your hopes and dreams. Just too much that goes into who books it that you can't control.
Yep. So, and we hear you trying too hard. We can hear the desperation. It's like, try to put that kind of stuff aside. Like, yeah, this would be a great one to book. If I get it, great. If not, didn't lose anything. You just didn't get that job. Something else will come along.
Exactly.
So then, yeah, what are some things that instantly work? So you get into the booth, and then what? I feel like one thing is just making simple choices, not, again, going back to not overthinking everything.
And take a breath. Like Kelly was saying, we can hear if you're on your 10th audition. If you need to step out, get some fresh air, get something to drink, take a moment for yourself, maybe meditate a little bit, just something to get back into that headspace where you can keep things fresh and, get that second wind, that extra boost of energy if you're working really hard.
Yeah, something to help you kind of transition into that. I recently was listening to something, and one of the things that they mentioned for transitions, like, of course, meditate, playing a certain song. Maybe it's a song that gets you amped up, or a song that calms you down, or, whatever it is. Washing your hands is just kind of a natural transit. Like, walk out of your booth, wash your hands. It's like you're washing away whatever was there, and then you're entering it fresh. And I thought that was interesting. So, it's like even little things like that. It's like figuring out.
Grab a snack. That's my go-to. Ooh, let me get a cookie.
Right? Yeah. Whatever works for you. It's like, just sit down for a second and have some water. It's like anything that you can use to kind of help that transition, especially when you're going from script to script and you're on the 10th audition.
Oh yeah, definitely take a break. It's okay.
So there's also then on the flip side of that, lots of things that are going to work against you.
And a lot of times it's our own we're our own worst enemy, It's that over rehearsing, overworking, overthinking. It's so easy for us to nitpick and hear things in our reads and in our voices that nobody else is going to notice. And you focus in on, oh, did I say that word weird? Oh, I took a breath there. Should I take that out? All of that stuff. That means you're thinking about it too much. So
Mhm.
try to just focus on being connected and in the moment. If the read feels good, you're probably in a good place.
I love that. That is a huge golden nugget right there, Kathryn, because feel how it feels as you're doing it. That
Yeah.
is so much more reliable than listening back and deciding if the take is good enough to send or not. Because that's how you know, like, oh, that felt connected. It felt like I
Mhm.
was there. I was in the moment.
Presence.
That is
Mhm.
what we want to hear. We don't want to hear it perfect with the
Yeah.
perfect inflections and no mouth click or breaths or natural things that happen. Like,
Mhm.
that's not our concern. It's like, so often you're reading to sound bookable, to be what the client wants, and the client doesn't know what they want. So
You're not a mind reader, so stop
mm-mm.
trying to guess because you'll always be wrong.
Yep. Be yourself. And it's the same thing when it comes to references.
Yeah.
It's understand the essence of the person, understand, kind of their style and what they do, but don't try to mimic or
It's not a
impersonate
voice
them.
match. Yeah.
Yep. Will be specific if we need a voice match. If there is a reference there or a celebrity prototype or touchstone, whatever people want to call it, if there is a reference, it's just a reference. It is something to just kind of give you an idea of, what they're looking for or what they think they might be looking for.
Mhm.
So just be careful with that.
Yeah, we just did a casting the other day. I think the only thing on it was we want a Morgan Freeman type voice.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, okay, well, when I think Morgan Freeman, I think, someone maybe a little older, someone who's, has some life experience. They're maybe
Mm-hmm.
a little deeper, a little that storyteller. So kind of just think when you think about that person, what kind of qualities do you think about, and kind of take that and like, okay, I can see where they're going with this.
Yep,
Try to
exactly.
sound like Morgan Freeman.
Yep. And you don't want to do a Morgan Freeman sound alike, because if you try to voice match him, his legal team is going to come after the company. So they're not looking for that either,
Yeah.
and it's like, and if they really wanted him, they'd figure out how to get him, so that's not what they're going for. Most of the time, especially when Morgan Freeman is the prototype,
Pops up a lot.
yeah, and it's usually because he's a great storyteller.
Mhm.
He's got that weight and that presence, and he
Mhm.
tells a story,
Got
so it's
people in his
like,
own. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and it's like you'll get references where it's the person is funny. They're just naturally
Mhm.
funny, or sometimes they're dry or irreverent. So that's what stands out. It's like kind of looking at what they're sort of known for, and not just in specific films or commercials, but it's like getting an idea of what they're like just in interviews and things like that as well. It's pay attention to that kind of stuff. Let's talk a little bit about what we are hoping that you, the talent, focus a little more on this year. There's all kinds of things.
Right?
And this is to help you, not just to help us. So I mean, I'll start off with just saying, consistency over intensity. It's like, again, not putting all your eggs in one basket with one big audition, but doing the prep work for everything, not just throwing away an audition because you're like, oh, it doesn't pay that much, whatever, or things like that. It's like that consistency that you can bring to every single audition. I mean, that's your work ethic. And on the casting side, we see that. We see the talent who are consistently solid in their auditions. We see the talent who maybe seem to care about certain things more than others. So thinking about that
Mhm.
consistency, that's
Yeah, and that
huge.
kinda delves nicely into the next point we have here of building trust one audition at a time,
Mhm.
especially if you're new to someone, whether it's a casting house or an agency, a management. or even, direct marketing to clients. You need to make sure that your auditions are quality each time and you're giving them what they're asking for. And if you're doing that consistently, you're going to build up that trust and they're going to know that you are someone reliable, someone they can count on. I know we'll get casting projects here and I'll be like, I know I definitely want to get this person on it because I know they're going to do a good job.
Mm-hmm.
So I know if I can at least get this person, that person, and this one on it, I know I'm going to have some handful of really good options to send to the client because
Yep.
they do consistent good work. So you want to
Yep.
be that person.
Exactly. Exactly. If you're unpredictable, then it's less
Or
likely that we're going
unreliable.
to take those chances. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it's one of those things where it works on the client level too. It's like I have seen it where clients are like, "Oh, so and so auditioned for us, on the last round, and even though we didn't book them, we really liked their read. Can you have them audition for this one?" So then you're getting requested. And I've seen it on the animation and video game side as well, where they hear consistently strong auditions for a variety of characters. Even though you may not be exactly right for one of those characters, they keep you in mind. And I've seen an animated show write a character for somebody because they loved their consistent work. Nothing else really worked for them, but because of those auditions, they still got a part. So stuff like that does happen with
Yep.
that consistency. You want to be reliable.
And that's why you're playing the long game. You might not hear back on these auditions. You have no
Yeah.
way of knowing that the client loves your read. There was
Mhm.
just someone that, maybe a higher up liked better. And so
Yep.
they're keeping you in mind for the next project. You don't know that because no one's telling you that. But you've got to keep being consistent doing that good work because eventually things are going to come together and it will pay off. You will
Yep.
book that job because they've been enjoying your work this entire time.
Anybody who's been in voiceover for a minute knows that it's a long game.
Mhm.
It's like you are building that clientele. When you've been in it for a while, you'll start to see that, a good percentage of your bookings in a year are recurring clients, are people who keep coming back to you. So you have to play it for the long game. And part of that, also goes into refining refining your skill versus reinventing things. Sometimes people are like, "Oh, I need to completely start over. I don't know, this read maybe isn't my strongest and all of that." And it's like, "Yeah, but take what you know and build on that. You can refine and hone, whether that's through classes or workouts or whatever, doesn't matter." But don't feel like you have to reinvent anything. It's keep building on the career that you're already building. Sometimes people are just like, "Oh, I should just throw in the towel. I should quit, or I need to just completely start over and, figure out my career again." And no, no, just keep building what you've already started.
Exactly. I'll throw in there networking is such a big part of this too. And I know not everyone feels confident doing that, or, it can be hard to socialize, especially if you don't know people. But so much of the work you're going to get and then the connections you're going to make are going to come out of people you know. You
Mhm.
never know where that job's going to come from or who's going to recommend you to a client because they, oh, I met them at this party and they were great. I think they'd be perfect on your job. You just never know. And having those connections and meeting those people, that's such a big part of this too.
Yep. That's huge. Yeah. Whether it's in person events, voiceover conferences, it's
Mhm.
happened with our insiders membership where members have referred other members for things. It's like, yeah, find those networks, meet people. It's like you do have to get out of your booth once in a while. Plus,
Use a
it's
little.
a lot less isolating when you do that. And there's more fun.
And
There's a
that's the
lot.
nice thing about this everyone says it, but the voiceover community is so supportive and so kind and welcoming. So don't be afraid to go out there.
Yep. Yep. Especially if you're newer.
Mhm.
Like if you've been around 30 years, then too. But, I find that newer people get a little more hesitant to put themselves out there because they're like, "Oh, I've only been doing this for 6 months, or I've only been doing this for a year." And it's like, great, you've got a year under your belt. Start
Mhm.
networking.
Go
You
out
want
there.
to get around those people who have been doing it, meet people. All right. So what does a good audition year actually look like? and it builds off of what we were just talking about. You know, we often, you know, look at it in terms of numbers where it's like, you know, 1 to 4% is like a good booking ratio. You know, it's like 1 out of 100 auditions and you're doing pretty well. You know, it's like I know working actors who, being that it was just the end of the year, a lot of people are posting these stats. I know working actors who, you know, are like, yes, I had a 4% booking rate this year. That doesn't sound like much, but they are working,
Yeah.
you know? So, and part of that is that, you know, recurring jobs and clients coming back and things like that. But it's, you know, so I would say a good year for a voice actor is not just getting booked, but also being remembered, putting
Mhm.
out solid work, building those connections, you know,
Yeah.
not stressing about the things that you wish you could have done differently
Mhm.
last year. Just move forward.
And hopefully with that, you get more ease and confidence over time too. You're gonna, you know, the more you do this stuff, the more confidence you're gonna build, the easier it becomes. So hopefully that also translates to a good audition year because just having
Mhm.
that confidence, just knowing like, yeah, I'm doing the right stuff. I know I'm putting good quality product out there, and you can feel good about that.
Yeah, because that's your job. As a
Mhm.
voice actor, your job is auditioning. You know, it's like the bookings, the money that comes from it, that's all
Maybe, yeah.
frosting on top. You know, it's like you want to know that you're putting good quality work out there. And then eventually the avails and the bookings come, you know,
Yes.
if you are consistent with the work you're putting out there.
I feel like a broken record, haven't we talked about? You know, it all goes back to what we've been saying, you know, just that consistency, being reliable. That's what's going to get you the work.
We're being consistent, Catherine,
Right?
by
No,
reiterating all of these things, right?
that's it.
So yeah, I mean the biggest thing, just to kind of to close up a little bit here, is remembering that steadiness. You know, it's like people really want to hit the ground running in January. Don't get overwhelmed by that. If you have motivation to build that momentum, great. But the important part is really continuing that momentum even when you don't have the motivation. So it more comes down to discipline more so
Mhm.
than motivation. But a lot of people are motivated in January. So, you
Yeah.
know, it's like use that fuel, but also don't feel like you need to overwhelm yourself. You
Yeah.
know, it's like it really is bringing you that connection, that personality, that consistency. It's have fun doing this job, have fun auditioning. Those are the things that we hear, you know, and we're here because we want to make this easier for you. You
Mhm.
know, it's so easy to just audition alone in your booth and send it off into nothing and hear nothing
Mhm.
and not know what you're doing. You know, if what you're doing is right or wrong or even close to what could potentially book you a job. So keeping all of that consistency.
Mhm. Exactly. And I will say if you do get that January motivation, you know, use that. Maybe it is that time to, you know, I've always wanted to take that class. Now's the time to do it. Oh, you know, I really need to get that demo done. Well, now's the time to do that.
Mhm.
You know, hey, you know, if I've always been a little nervous to do animation or I've been nervous to do improv, well, what better time to do it than the new year? So
Yep.
maybe take that energy and use it to try something new and experiment and expand your horizons. And who knows, maybe you'll find a niche in voiceover that you didn't know existed or that you love or that you're really good at.
Yeah, it's a good month to take some chances, you know, and play a little bit, especially while you're feeling that. Do whatever kind of works for you at this point, you know, just don't worry about it being stressful. Don't worry about leveling up your entire career all in, you know, the magic of the January 1st calendar. You know, it's just keep that consistency, keep doing what you're doing and have some fun with it. So, speaking of classes, if that is something that you're interested in, we are super excited because we have tons of, I mean, we have some new classes, which are exciting, but we have tons of classes starting up. So, everything from commercial to animation and video games, improv, we have 1-day intensive, we have
Mhm.
business seminars, we have 4-week classes, 6-week
Accent class
classes.
in April. Yeah, so
Yeah, yeah. So we
yeah, the
have
beginning of the year is usually when we have
mhm,
dates for just about all of our classes that we offer coming up,
yep.
so
Not all of them are offered multiple times throughout the year
yeah.
either, so that this is a good time for us to just kind of mention the classes because like our Art of Accents class is going to be in April. We only offer it once a year. So things like that, be sure to check it out, voicecaster.com. And then of course we also have our digital courses,
Mhm.
finding your authentic voice, as well as our insiders membership, and all of that can be found on Voicecaster Lab. So, check out that kind of stuff too. If you are looking to hop into something, to refine those skills, we're not reinventing, we're refining, or to try something new, have some fun with it. So,
Yeah, we're a very safe, supportive space, so
mhm.
feel free to try us out if you haven't yet.
Yep. And Kathryn and I both teach along with a few other amazing instructors, and everybody is very supportive. We are a casting team that's on your side. We're the only reason we do this podcast is to help voice actors. So all right, we will wrap it up with that. Be sure to subscribe either on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. We have the videos on YouTube, we have the audio on everywhere else. So be sure to subscribe because we do put out episodes twice a month.
Mhm.
We typically have one where it's just Kathryn and I talking about casting and various industry things. And we do interviews once a month as well and have some pretty awesome guests coming up. So
Yeah.
hopefully we will talk to you very soon.
Catch a new Voiceover Casting Corner episode every second and fourth Tuesday of the month. Be sure to give a thumbs up, subscribe, and follow us at The Voicecaster on social media. Thanks for listening.